You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Coming up, it's another Wildcat Wednesday interview with Holly Miner from the K-State Extension Office. She's teaching us about food preservation and more specifically, canning salsa.
Looking forward to that. Also, it might seem old-fashioned, but the popularity of airships looks to be taking off once again.
And if you're in our northern counties, you're getting in on some rain this morning. As a boundary slowly pushes to the south, more widespread rain chances building in. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A Burlington, Kansas man has died from a motorcycle crash. Authorities say Harvey Eccles was driving his bike in Montgomery County when he left the road and hit a ditch. He later died at the hospital. Eccles was commander of the American Legion Post 38 in Burlington. A passenger on the bike was not injured. Joplin police say a body is found in Cunningham Park, but the death does not seem suspicious. Police say a passerby noticed the body around 7:20 Tuesday morning near a trolley stop in the park and called 911. When officers arrived, they found the body of a middle-aged man. Authorities have not yet released the identity of that man, but they say the initial investigation does not find the death to be suspicious. And a man is rushed to the hospital following a Tuesday afternoon shooting in Joplin. Police received a call of gunshots at 1201 East Hill Street before 4 yesterday, and that's where they found a man with gunshot injuries. They say he was considered to be in critical condition. Police have not yet made any arrests. The Joplin community took time to remember a fallen hero. On Tuesday, police and others gathered for a moment of silence and prayer in honor of Corporal Ben Cooper on what would have been Cooper's 47th birthday. Corporal Cooper, one of 3 members of the Joplin Police Department, was shot on March 8th. He and Officer Jake Reed did not survive. Joplin Mayor Doug Lawson proclaimed yesterday Corporal Ben Cooper Day and ordered flags flown at half-staff. March 9th is now dedicated to Officer Reed in honor of his birthday. Well, yesterday marked the 32nd anniversary of Congress passing the Americans with Disabilities Act. Nevada, Missouri-based advocacy organization On My Own celebrated the occasion. Officials say the ADA was not just a tremendous victory for people with disabilities, but for the entire country, as the legislation created a more accessible life for all Americans.
Things like curb cuts, accessible parking, being able to have all kinds of adaptations for people with disabilities, but those of us that may not have mobility issues or different things also get to experience and enjoy those things as well.
On My Own also celebrated its community efforts to make Nevada more accessible. Coming up later in the show, KOAM's own Amber Jenkins takes us inside the On My Own celebration. Well, Tuesday marked a celebration of 30 years of service for the Southeast Kansas Independent Resource Center in Parsons. SKILL is an advocacy organization that supports people with disabilities by helping remove the barriers to finding housing and employment. SKILL celebrated by having multiple organizations set up displays, including the police and fire departments and Libet Health, who are giving out free vaccinations.
We are showing, we are sharing with the community sign language, just basic signs so they can learn, and we want to make all people interested into learning sign language.
Live music, food, drinks, snow cones, and ice cream, a few of the treats that were free to the public. Well, cheers! Today is National Scotch Day. Not any old whiskey will do to be Scotch. It has to be made in Scotland, made from malled barley, aged in oak barrels for at least 3 years, and be less than 94.8% alcohol. You can mark the day by enjoying a glass with friends, attend a Scotch tasting at a whiskey bar, or host your own tasting. You can post to the social media hashtag National Scotch Day. Bonus points if you wear a kilt. I'd like to see that. Fun fact, there are 5 types of Scotch: single malt, single grain, blended malt, blended grain, and blended.
Interesting. I did not know there were so many types of Scotch, and I may just have to wear a kilt tomorrow.
I have a few friends who have kilts?
I don't have one. I mean, I've got the wife, she's got some skirts, but that doesn't really count. It's not going to get the same effect as wearing a kilt, I don't think.
No, probably not.
I mean, I'm not an expert though, I'm not Scottish.
Ironically, our camera operator at noon yesterday, Malik, said he wished he was wearing a kilt. I'm not sure why, I can't remember the context, but I do remember that conversation.
Maybe he'll wear one today for National Scotch Day. We can only hope. Because, you know, I'd love to see him in a kilt. Just, you know, it's Scotch Day. That's all there is to it. Hey, you know what else was going down on this day in history? Weather history, more specifically. On this day in weather history, the Missouri River reached a record crest of 48.8 feet at the Hannibal Bridge. Yeah, we got some rain. We did get some rain back then. We're getting rain right now. Take a look at the Skywatch storm tracker. You can see that rain. Our northern counties are really getting into it. It's not heavy, heavy rain, but we are getting rain, which is a good sign. Check out the limited number of heat advisories that are now in effect as well. They go until at least 8 o'clock tonight, and this is probably the last day of them for a while at least. Still going to be warm today, hence some heat advisories still out there, but the rain chances are going to increase. We've got better chances of rain and storms tomorrow and through the rest of the week. And then summer will kick off again next weekend after this brief break. 7th and Range Line, the sunrise looking beautiful right now, 75 in Joplin. Most of us starting the day in the 70s, and you can see that boundary was about Highway 54 yesterday, slowly sinking to the south, and that's what's going to bring us our rain chances. Scattered storms picking up later this afternoon, highs topping out about 96, 97 degrees. Overnight tonight, scattered is the key word here, but scattered storms through the evening, starting the day at 77. I want to take a look at the future track because you're going to see something that's going to look so cool, something we haven't seen. So here's the increase in some scattered showers, maybe a few thunderstorms this afternoon, not really doing much for temperatures. Quiets down a little bit, and as we head into tomorrow morning, check this image out. Just behold this for a moment. Look at all of this rainfall. And it's about time. So again, as you can see, it's still scattered. It's very scattered, but it's a widespread scattered, if that makes sense. So there's pauses in between some of the storms, some of the showers, but everybody getting in on the rain activity, and it's going to remain that way as we head into the next several days. Rain chances stick around all the way through the weekend. Temperatures cooling off too. We're talking lower 80s for highs come Friday and Saturday. Overnight lows in the 60s. And then we have the unfortunate side effect of it is still summer and we're getting into August. And you can see temperatures soaring back up into the mid-90s as we start next week. But at least we've got this break to carry us for a few days where we can cool off and get a little rain. Now the rain's not going to be enough to help the drought situation. A lot of us still in severe drought, but any rain we can get will help out even just a little bit with the drought situation.
All right, looking forward to that cool down for sure. And if the drought situation hasn't messed with your tomato plants too much, then this is something you might want to check into. We've got Holly Miner in studio, and we're going to be canning salsa. Looking forward to that.
And later, research finds children's respiratory health does better when they grow up near green spaces. We'll have those details. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Health Watch this morning, new research shows an elevated risk of death from stroke and coronary heart disease in men treating prostate cancer with hormone therapy. The study, published in The Aging Male, involved more than 13,000 patients. The author says it's important that older men are screened for pre-existing cardiovascular disease before they begin taking any hormone-lowering drugs to treat prostate cancer. The greener, the better when it comes to children's respiratory health. Data published in the European Respiratory Journal shows children tend to have better lung function if they grow up near green spaces. The research analyzed nearly 4,000 kids during the first 10 years of life. And children conceived using fertility treatments were no more likely to have a development issue than those conceived without reproductive assistance, according to a large study led by the University of Bristol. Now, researchers followed 14,000 pregnant women and their offspring and found differences in the growth, weight, and body fat of children conceived through fertility treatments are small and no longer apparent by late adolescence. Take a look at this sunrise at 7th and Range Line. It looks lovely, does it not? It's going to be a warm one, but it's a lovely start to the day. 75 is where we are in Joplin. A lot of us starting in the 70s this morning. Where that boundary was at Highway 54 yesterday, close to I-44 today, which making a nice start for the day. But as we've noticed too, it's not doing a lot for afternoon temperatures right now. As we head into the day, heat advisories until at least 8 o'clock. We're going to be pushing into the mid-90s with some scattered thunderstorm chances. They will hang on through the night. 77 is how we're going to start the day. And a look at the future track because it's the most beautiful thing we've seen in a while. So this is later today, about 5 o'clock. You can see a few more widespread showers, maybe some thunderstorms. Quiets down a little bit overnight. And as we kick into early tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., look at how widespread all of this rain is. It's still scattered in nature by definition, but everybody getting in on those rain chances. And the 7-day forecast shows they're going to stick around. So we've got one more alert day. Highs pushing close to 100. 90 tomorrow. Temperatures drop. Rain chances remain nice. Best chances, by the way, Thursday and Thursday night. But rain chances all the way through Sunday. Once this system moves on out and does its thing, summer makes a prompt return for the start of next week. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News, including canning salsa, when we come back.
Welcome back. We've got Holly Miner in studio with us this morning from the K-State Extension Service, and we are canning salsa. I'm so excited. Yes.
Yes, we are going to do some canning of some salsa. So normally we would, if you are growing produce in your garden, you would be using fresh produce, but for demonstration purposes today, we're going to use some canned diced tomatoes. So I'll let you go ahead and open this can, and we can pour all of the tomatoes into our saucepan.
How many cans of tomatoes would you say we're working with today?
We are using 6. So what we are doing today for demonstration purposes is we're using a mix, and this is an easy, quick way to be able to make salsa. All of your spices and everything that you need are in that mix. And
I see why you gave me the...
Yeah, so this is an unusual can opener.
Yeah.
So there you go. You have to go like 14 times.
Okay, I did a round and it did nothing, so...
Yeah,
that's why she had me do it. Yeah, it's getting nothing there.
Okay, so sorry, this is a unique can opener. It doesn't leave a sharp edge.
It was open. It just was tricking me.
Yeah. So sorry, we should have had a little training session on how to use the can opener.
It is apparently was doing it just fine.
Yes, you were. You were good.
I'm used to the can openers that leave like a mess.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and this one doesn't leave a sharp edge, so it's kind of nice.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead and we'll put that in our pot. Normally we would cook our tomatoes, we would blanch them, and so we would put them in boiling water for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then we would be able to core them and take the skins off. Okay. And the skins would slip off real easily. Blanching is something that we do when we are freezing foods as well, because it stops the enzymes from working to continue to mature the produce. Okay. And so it's important when you're freezing things that you need to do that with it as well. So
you just boil it in water
You put them in boiling water. You have your water boiling. You put them in boiling water for however long it is that it needs for that particular food. Tomatoes are pretty soft, tender, so usually 30 to 60 seconds is about all we need with that. And then you would put them in an ice bath where you have a big bowl full of ice water and cool them back off, because we don't want to cook the tomatoes, we just want to take the skins off. So
what other types of fruits or vegetables are good that work well for with blanching that process?
It really depends on what you're going to make. So canned beets, we would blanch beets. They take about 15 to 20 minutes depending on how hard the skins are, because the skins are a lot tougher, and so it takes longer to blanch them than it does to do like tomatoes. Or peaches is another one that we blanch. When we're getting ready to can peaches, we would blanch the skins off of those. And again, it depends on the type of skin and the type of fruit or vegetable that you're blanching.
Okay.
But the reason why is to cause the enzymes to stop. We kill the enzymes, and so they don't continue to mature the fruit or the vegetable.
Mm-hmm. And you definitely want that process stopped once it's in the can.
Yeah, your canned goods coming out of the can are only as good as they are going into the can. So we want to make sure that whatever we're processing, we're using good quality produce, and that will make our end product be of good quality and nutrition as well. So let's go ahead and add our tomatoes in there, and I'll open up our little salsa package mix here. This is just for plain tomato salsa. We could do, the recipe that we have online is for peach apple salsa.
Oh, wow.
And so that's a really good one. It uses a lot of different, peaches and apples and tomatoes and spices, has some brown sugar.
The whole packet?
Yeah, the whole packet. And then we'll just stir that, and we're going to start to cook that. And I believe it says that we're going to simmer that for 20 minutes. So when we come back in our next section, it will be simmered and ready to go, and we will put it in our jars and continue that process on.
Okay, well, I've got the pot going, and we'll get it simmering.
Yeah, so it'll be ready to put in the jars. When you're canning and you're working with your food, if your recipe says to put it in the jars hot, we want to make sure that our jars are warmed up, that they're warm, that we're putting it in warm jars, our food is warm, and that we process it right away. That heating up of the food before we put it in the jars, having the jars hot, and the processing is all part of the method that we use to make sure that the bacteria is being killed in the jars and our food is safe when we open it to eat.
And if you want to learn more about canning, you guys are going to have some classes coming up.
Yes, we do. August 2nd in Altamont, and then the 9th and 11th in Girard and Fredonia. You can call our Wildcat Extension office in Montgomery County and speak with Debbie or myself. The phone number there is 620-331-2690.
Now, are those classes that you need to sign up for in advance, or can you just show up that day?
Yeah, so normally there's a charge to our classes. We have a grant that we are able to offer the classes for free, so this is a great opportunity to come and learn. We're going to be making the peach apple salsa with the water bath method. We're going to be canning carrots with the pressure canner, so you're going to learn both methods. You'll get that wonderful little packet that I showed you earlier to be able to have some resources in there that tell you all the different ways to do the methods, the correct processes to follow. And we do like to have registration ahead of time so that I know how many people to expect and we can have all the materials ready.
Sounds like a plan. All right, well, we will return later in the show and have you back to finish off our salsa and put them into the cans.
Yep, we'll be ready.
We'll be right back.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Sergeant Richard Kingery. The Japel native served in Korea from 1949 to 52 as part of the Army's 17th Regimental Team, 7th Infantry Division. This highly decorated veteran earned numerous awards, including the Japanese Occupation Ribbon, the Good Conduct Medal, and the Korean Service Ribbon with Silver Star. To Sergeant Richard Kingery, we thank you, today's four-state hero. Well, the future is looking an awful lot like the past. Jackie Ibanez has a special look at a modern, sustainable airship hoping to revolutionize the way we travel.
It might look like something out of the 1920s, but this definitely isn't your great-grandma's blimp. British-based aviation company Hybrid Air Vehicles is taking inspiration from old-school airships and elevating them to new heights with the Airlander.
It's designed to deliver 10 tons of freight, 100 passengers, and to deliver them to places or take them to places at only 10% the emissions of other aircraft.
The first commercial flights are expected to begin in 2026, with Spanish airline Air Nostrum already reserving 10 Airlanders to regionally transport people across various cities. And officials at Hybrid Air Vehicles are promising customers a sustainable travel experience, with the first models of the Airlander boasting impressive hybrid technology.
It'll be the first aircraft in its class to actually have hybrid electric propulsion and ultimately all electric propulsion in a zero-emission aircraft.
The crafts are more than 300 feet long, can stay in the air for a total of 5 days, and can travel roughly 4,000 nautical miles at a time. And because its hull is filled with helium, it requires less power to take off than standard aircraft, while offering a lot more room to stretch out and unwind.
Every seat is accessible to the aisle. You can move around. Big windows, flying much lower. It's very gentle.
Meanwhile, if you're worried about turbulence, officials say the sheer size and low cruising altitude of the Airlander helps it withstand large gusts. Jackie Ibanez, Fox News.
Absolutely fascinating. We'll be right back after the break.
Starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. A man is rushed to the hospital following a Tuesday afternoon shooting in Joplin. Police received a call of gunshots at 1201 East Hill Street before 4 yesterday afternoon, and that's where they found a man with gunshot injuries. They say he was considered to be in critical condition. Police have not made any arrest. It can be difficult for someone in an abusive relationship to find a place to stay. KOAM's Yana Hatula spoke to an abuse survivor about her experience.
They don't want to leave the property, so you have no choice. If you want out of that situation, you have no choice but to leave.
A Joplin resident, Jamie Lindsay, is lucky she got out of an abusive relationship, but it was not easy.
It's a gradual thing, so abusers don't just like immediately start abusing. They kind of gradually, over time, over years, they'll start gradually taking control over you and manipulating you and trying to control all these different aspects of your life. It's an abusive situation, so we always usually go back and then try to leave again.
While dealing with the issues at home, she had to start saving money for an apartment.
I still had to save my own money to be able to get out of the situation.
With rent prices going up, it took her a while to actually be able to move out.
I just had to save money, live poor off ramen noodles like as much as I could, and get out.
Luckily, she was able to find a place after a while with a helpful landlord. Jamie knew about the Lafayette house in Joplin, but did not think her situation was severe enough to ask for help.
I didn't understand like what I was going through was actually abuse at the time.
Brooke Powell from Safe House Crisis Center recommends everyone to ask for help in any kind of abusive situation.
The first thing, reach out. Reach out. Don't feel like you have to do this alone. If it's just a housing issue and you're not facing violence, reach out to, different organizations like Salvation Army and Wesley House, because they will have some resources to maybe help guide you. And if it is a violence issue, reach out to us and help. We're hoping that we can help guide you through this process.
Being in a situation like that and surviving a situation like that, I commend anybody that has done those things.
In Joplin, Yana Hautala, KOAM News.
Anyone in a difficult situation can contact the Safe House Crisis Center. Well, everyone loves a freebie, and students in Quapaw and Commerce, Oklahoma had the chance to pick up some free school supplies. Caregivers just had to present proof of residence, such as a utility bill.
It just makes us feel like we're a team, that we're really helping families, and that's what we're all about. That's why our name is Family Services, because we're here to help families.
Free hot dogs were also given out. Tuesday's event was supplied by Quapaw Family Services. Socializing and taking part in conversation is key to quality of life, but both can be difficult for anyone living with even minor hearing loss. Every month, Freeman Health System hosts speakers for its HealthWise series. On Tuesday, Dr. David Anthony of Freeman Hearing Center discussed the latest in hearing test and aid technology.
Typically within hearing aids there are a lot of different preset functions that the hearing aid might detect that I'm in a difficult situation, and then it will make a few changes on its own. And then there are also user features that if you feel like I need some help in a specific environment, then I can manipulate this device to either through manual manipulation of the device or with my smartphone.
Dr. Anthony also says to make sure the hearing aid you are buying is legit, as there are a lot of fakes out there. This morning we're discussing winning the lottery, and the good news is you still have a chance to become a mega millionaire. Tuesday night's Mega Millions lottery drawing was at about $810 million with a cash value of $470 million. There are now only 3 bigger jackpots that have ever been won in any lottery game. 2 were the Mega Millions, both over $1 billion in 2018 and 2021, and a $1.5 billion jackpot winner. That's the world record, and that was in January of 2016. The odds of winning last night's jackpot were 1 in 303 million. I'm sure that number has really expanded, though.
So what would you do if you won the lottery? We want to know. You going to do extravagant purchases, give to charity, Quit your job? Help family? Maybe something else? We want to know. Vote at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the KOAM News Now app, and of course you can participate in the discussion, maybe get some ideas in case you're the lucky winner on what you could do with nearly $1 billion, because that's where the jackpot is now. So this one may actually get up there in the Mega Millions records at least, because it's just over $1 billion right now.
I feel like you need to buy at least like one fun thing, whether it's like your dream home or, you know, just that one extravagant thing.
Oh, well, and you see, I've got a shopping list, but I still couldn't spend all of that money. I mean, I live a modest life. You know, and I talk to, the wife and I talk about these things. You know, we joke like, yeah, if we ever won. But both of us were pretty modest. Like, we're not going to go out and buy some big mansion, because you have to think about the future. You're going to owe property taxes on that thing every year. You're going to have to take care of the lawn.
Okay, don't be a bummer, Chris.
There's going to be things. So I'm like, we just need a good house for us and the kids.
You get something nice, and then you set aside for the future. You set aside for your kids' education. You set aside for those
right,
property
and you can
taxes.
do those things, but you're still not going to spend nearly $1 billion on these things. I mean, where are you sending these kids for an education? Are we opening a university on Mars in the future?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well then that's where that $1 billion might come in handy. And even then, you can still take. You can take
we could be able to afford a
space
flight into space.
Yes, and you'd still have money left over. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's a crazy amount of money. Crazy amount of money.
I've kept that off my bucket list just because it's not attainable. But if you win the lottery, space travel.
Yeah. Let's talk very quickly about what we've got coming in today. Another warm day, but rain chances increasing, and of course we've got better storm chances come tomorrow. And sorry, Tanya started moving something. I thought there was thunder. I was a little excited. It's going to heat back up again as we start next week. 7th and range line looking good. Temperatures in Joplin 75. Most of us in the 70s. And a quick look at the rest of the day. Scattered thunderstorm chances increase. Scattered, the operative word. Highs pushing about 96, 97, close to 100 for some of us. Scattered storm chances through the night. Lows in the 70s. And otherwise, we've got better storm chances come tomorrow. We'll have more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Welcome back. We've been cooking with Holly Miner from the K-State Extension Service this morning, and we've been talking about food preservation techniques and showing us how to can some salsa.
Right. We want to make sure that our salsa is canned safely. That's the whole reason why we can it, is so that when we take it out of the jar, it's safe to eat. So we want to make sure we're following those tested recipes and the procedures correctly.
All right, so we actually put together our salsa now. We made it with actually canned tomatoes, but you talked about how you would do it with fresh tomatoes. We
exactly.
just don't have the time in our morning show.
Yeah, so you would normally blanch your tomatoes, chop them up according to the directions. We've simmered this for 20 minutes, so it's ready to go into the jars now. You can use the ladle, and we'll just turn that spoon over to the side. You can go ahead and use the ladle, and we'll ladle it right into the jars. We have our funnel in our jar. Our jars have been washed, and they've been put in a warm canner to keep them warm, so the jars are warm. Our salsa is hot, and we're going to put it in there, and we're going to leave an inch and
that's too much, right?
Yep, that's a little bit too much. So we'll do it over here, and hopefully we can just pour it back in.
That's probably still, you said about an inch.
Yeah, so we leave about an inch on this one, about an inch and a half headspace, or inch and a fourth headspace, and we'll set that in the next jar. And here's our little tool, so you can just use this part to go down around. So we want to make sure we're clearing our air bubbles out of our jars. So that's what we would use that process for.
Down here, just like that?
Yep, exactly. Go all the way around the outside and then in the inside as well. The other thing this helps do is to make sure that the food is down. So now we can see that we can add a little bit more to that. But let's go ahead and test it with our little tool there. So each one of those is a fourth, so we'll go on the very last one. And if it's not touching the little thing, we can add a little bit. And if it's touching, then we take a little bit out.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that our headspace is correct. And probably, yeah, if we can get some with a little bit of juice in there, that'd be great. That's probably good. So there is a little bit of a process to this. We want to make sure that we're doing it quickly so that our food stays warm. And, you know, if you're first time doing this, it's going to take a little bit.
I put too much in there.
It's a learning process. It's a learning process. So
probably not enough.
No, that's good. I think it looks good, right where you had it. We'll go ahead and release the air bubbles again, and then that'll help make sure that everything is down.
Okay.
And when we get that done, the next thing we want to do is we want to wipe off the rim of the jar, because we want to make sure that our jar is clean. So you can go ahead and set it down. Because our jars are warm and our food is warm, we're setting it on a towel or some kind of a mat to make sure that our jars aren't coming into contact with a cold surface so they don't crack. And so what I'm doing is I'm just going around the top of the rim to make sure that we have everything off there. And then we'll use our 2-piece flat system, or put our flat on, and then we'll put our other ring band on. And this is fingertip tight, and we go 1/4 of a turn more. So that's as tight as we need to go. And you can use the jar lifter, and we'll pull the lid off of the canner, and we'll put that in the canner. So in the canner we have our water. It's full up to the top, where it would be 1 inch to 2 inches over the top of the jars. And we would put that in there, and then we would process those jars when we get them all full for 15 minutes, so that when the water is boiling after we put all the jars in, we would process it for 15 minutes with the water on a continuous boil for the whole time. And then once the time is up, we shut the canner off and we let them sit in the canner. We take the lid off, but we let them sit there for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then at that time, we would pull them out. So you can go ahead and pull out the jars that have processed already. So pull out the, whoops, which ones are the?
These two.
Yeah. Yep, so these are jars that we've processed already, and we'll set those down on the, again, we want to put them on a warm mat, because when they come out of the canner, they are boiling hot.
Now, I noticed that you have a handy dandy little tray in here that helps hold them, keeps them from falling.
Yeah, so if you want to pull that jar back out, we can talk about the tray. So the rack that is in our canner actually helps keep the jars off the bottom of the canner. We want to make sure that the water circulates around all of the jars so that the jars can heat properly. So the jars need to be off the bottom of the canner, and then they're also off of that heat surface so that their jars aren't touching the direct heat.
Well, I noticed that when the handles are down like that, it made it to where they don't fall over.
Right, exactly.
Keeps them separated too.
Yeah, so if you had a canner that wasn't quite full of 7 jars, you could put some extra jars in there and just put them with water in them, not put a lid on them, but just put them in the water. That would hold the space so that they wouldn't tip over in the canning process.
Okay.
So, yeah, so then we'll process those for 15 minutes and they'll be ready to go. But in the meantime, we're gonna just dish a little bit of this up so you guys can see what this looks like. And this salsa can be frozen, so you can put it in freezer containers and have it in the freezer. You can also have it fresh, just like this. We could cool this down, add some chips to it. It'd be a great little snack to have. We know that,
Sounds
you know,
like
when we home can or grow our vegetables, we know where they've come from. We know what we've put in our food. It's a great way to know that our food is nutritious and healthy for us. So.
Okay, so if you'd like to learn the complete process, let's run over our canning classes that you guys are going to be hosting.
Yes, August 2nd, 11th, and 9th. And give our office a call at 620-331-2690, and we would be glad to have everyone sign up.
And you were telling me registration is required, so you have enough stuff for everybody, but it's free of charge.
It's free of charge, registration required, so we know.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming on. This was an educational experience for me. Sorry, I'm a little messy.
It's okay. It's all in the process, and it's all good.
We'll be right back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, Russia will end its association with the International Space Station after 2024. Kremlin made the announcement yesterday, citing rising tensions with its ISS partners over the war in Ukraine. Those partners include the U.S., Canada, Japan, and the European Space Agency. Russia plans to develop a space station of its own instead. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Well, a police car in Little Rock, Arkansas has become the talk of the town.
Yeah, Brenda Lipinski shows us why.
It's the tiny Little Rock police car that's become a viral sensation on social.
My first question was, how are they going to put people in there?
Measuring 8 feet long, 5.3 feet high, and 4 feet wide.
I saw the new police car and I thought it was hilarious. What are they doing? Is it going to catch the bad guy? It doesn't look very fast.
Well, she's right. You won't see it going high speed because it only goes 25 miles per hour. But Officer Brian O'Bunton with Little Rock Police Department says there's a purpose for it.
It actually helps us navigate the park, Riverfront Park, and get along these small sidewalks and other areas where we have lots of heavy foot traffic.
Saying the car allows more maneuverability through small spaces where regular cars can't get through. Let's say you were to have to make an arrest.
If we were to make an arrest, we would end up having to bring in a patrol car that happens to have one of the safety cages in the back.
And besides helping police get around,
it is a 100% electric vehicle.
I'm glad that it's eco-friendly, because then maybe we're not putting as much carbon dioxide in the environment.
Officer O'Bunton says the car's non-threatening appearance could be a good thing. So what's the best part about riding in one of these things?
The icebreaker lets me interact with the citizens.
And if you ever see one driving by,
hey, have them come on down. We'll take a picture with it, show them it if they want. They have asked questions. They're more than welcome to talk to us.
That's like a my-size police car.
I just have an image of Chris Farley trying to put on a jacket. Well, Little Rock, hard to believe, but Little Rock police actually have 2 of the tiny cars.
That's absolutely fascinating. But I do like the concept, that it can get into some of these narrow spaces, patrol parks, things like that. So.
That's why they have bikes and horses.
Yeah, and now they've got tiny police cars. We have tiny rain chances through today, but they're going to increase as we head into tomorrow. So scattered storm chances do increase today. They're going to be scattered, very widely scattered as we progress through the day. Afternoon highs pushing into the mid to upper 90s, close to 100 degrees. They're going to dip back into the upper 70s tonight with the scattered storms sticking around. And I wanted to take a quick look at the future track because I want to show you what's going to happen here. We see the scattered storms through today. Again, they're very widely scattered. They clear out, and then as we start Thursday morning, look at all of this. The radar just lights up. Scattered storms for everybody, and that means we're getting much needed rain, much needed relief, and that's also going to come in the form of not just rain chances through the weekend, but look at these temperatures as well before summer makes a return by the start of next week. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 when we come back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. CEOs of several gun manufacturers will testify before a House committee on Capitol Hill today. In the wake of several high-profile mass shootings, the committee is investigating the companies regarding the sale and marketing of AR-15 style rifles and similar firearms. This week, the full House is expected to vote on 2 gun bills, including one that bans assault weapons. 2 former Minneapolis police officers involved in George Floyd's death will be sentenced today. In February, J. Alexander King and Tuau were found guilty by a federal jury of depriving Floyd of his constitutional rights. A third officer, Thomas Lane, was found guilty by the same jury and sentenced last week to 30 months in jail. Meanwhile, Derek Chauvin is serving a 22.5-year sentence for his conviction on state murder and manslaughter charges. Well, today is likely the final day for North Dakota's only abortion clinic. Unless a judge intervenes, a trigger ban goes into effect Thursday that makes most abortions in the state illegal. Red River Women's Clinic plans to reopen in neighboring Minnesota sometime in the future.
It is going to be another hot one today. We're starting off nicely, though. Scattered thunderstorm chances will increase through the evening, but they'll still be pretty scattered. Highs pushing upper 90s to close to 100 degrees. Getting into the upper 70s overnight as those scattered storm chances stick with us. And on the future track, you can see by tomorrow morning, we really see the thunderstorm chances increase. We'll get a break in the afternoon before they return again later Thursday evening and bring us some much needed rain and cooler temperatures.
Well, there are new flavors of a tiny Halloween treat, but they might not appeal to everyone.
Candy company Brock's is releasing a new tailgate candy corn mix. Now, the flavors include hot dog, hamburger, vanilla ice cream, fruit punch, and popcorn. Only 2 of those actually sound edible. Brock says it wants candy corn to be popular all year long, not just around Halloween and the Christmas season. The tailgate candy corn is sold in Walgreens stores and online only. You can get your hand on a bag of tailgate mix for $3.49 or 2 bags for $6.
I would try it.
I would try some of it. They're one like the hamburger flavor, hot dog, no. Popcorn, maybe.
You surprisingly might like it. As
That's
long as you're not
possible.
tasting meat. There's a place for meat. I love meat, but I don't know how I'd feel about it in a candy form.
Yeah. And not everybody likes candy corn either, so that makes that difficult too. Well, thank you so much for letting us put in the good in your morning. We'll be back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.